let's talk about all the types of IVF that are possible. So that you can do in a heterosexual couple, your own egg with your own sperm, create an embryo, transfer it into your body. Now, you also can do your own egg with a donor sperm, create an embryo into your body. Now, you also can do your partner's sperm with a donor egg, create an embryo, put it into your body. Now, there's also something called double donation, which is where double donor, which is where you have a donor egg and a donor sperm, and the clinic puts those two together, and you have an embryo, and you implant it, and you can have a baby. Now, there's also something called embryo donation, which is where if people have already had their families, and their families feel complete, but they still have extra embryos, then they donate those embryos, or you buy those embryos, and you can then have a baby that way. So it's already created embryo, but you still can transfer it into your own body and have a baby that way. Now, you also can do all of these different configurations here with a gestational carrier, or in other words, a surrogate, right? So back in the day, surrogacy was just, they would use the person who's carrying their eggs with the partner sperm of the couple who wants a baby. But now you can do any of these different configurations. So you could put your own egg in your partner's sperm, or any of the combinations you could put into a gestational carrier. And now, obviously, for same-sex male couples, they would need a gestational carrier to carry the baby, and so they might use their own sperm with a donor egg and transfer it and have a baby that way. Now, for same-sex female couples, there's something called reciprocal IVF, which is where you would have one of the women who have their own egg with a donor sperm, right, and create an embryo, and then put it into the other woman's body, and so that both women this way can actually be biologically connected to the child. Just the same way, like if we used a donor egg and my husband's sperm, and I carried the baby, I still would be connected to that baby, and still would be pumping blood through it, and still would have biological ties to the baby. And so that is some of the options that you can do depending on the clinic. You can actually mix some of these different embryos and implant them together. Obviously, there's different risks of twins and things like that, but it really depends kind of if the embryos are tested, how many, your age, so many different factors. And also with your age, depending on your age, you can transfer multiple embryos, like especially if you're doing day 3 embryos and not pushing to blast and not testing. So these are just some of the many options that are available through IVF. It's very, very, very cool that technology can do all of these things and help create babies in so many ways. Please reach out if you have any questions. Okay, thanks.